Hello, Zest here. The American Revolution, a tale of oppressed colonists, the fight for freedom, and paper money? Indeed, it turns out that the roots of this brand uprising may have less to do with tea parties and taxes, and more upon the issuance of money, or rather, the lack thereof. The British crackdown on colonial currency was the real catalyst for the revolution, far outweighing the impact of those galling tea and stamp acts. There's no denying the role of paper money in sparking the colony's insurrection. When Benjamin Franklin testified before the House of Commons in 1776, he blamed the prohibition of paper money for the colony's growing resentment towards Parliament. It was the British government's stubborn insistence on forbidding taxes paid in the colonists' beloved paper money that caused such great inconvenience and misery that revolution became inevitable. Forget the tea and stamp acts. It was all about the Benjamins. It seems that historians, much like a distracted lover, have paid too little attention to this most critical of facts. In colony after colony, it was paper money that drew the battle lines, proving that when it comes to the revolution, not George III, but cash is king. The American tax-free utopia. In the grand old days of the American colonies, when powdered wigs were all the rage, and taxation was about as popular as a wet blanket at a tea party, the colonists discovered a marvelous loophole. Our story begins in the 17th century, a time when the low-tax colonial environment evolved into a nearly tax-free utopia during the first half of the 18th century. And as one might expect, this was a time of rapid growth in the colonies. Coincidence? By 1754, the American colonies had become the pesky younger sibling of the British mother country, a serious economic rival. Philadelphia merchants, for instance, adorned their exporting ships and trade routes with a veritable cornucopia of goods, from agricultural products, wheat, corn, tobacco, etc., animal hides and furs, raw materials, lumber, iron, etc., and manufactures, textiles, glassware, etc. Other colonial ports focused on the abundant produce of their surrounding regions, creating a diversified portfolio of colonial commerce. During this time, incomes, wages, living standards, and landowning opportunities in the colonies soared higher than a bald eagle on a summer's day, far surpassing those of the average man in Great Britain or continental Europe. This colonial bonanza attracted a steady flow of immigration, eager to partake in the economic feast. How was this seeming utopia arrived by? Although other forms of money were valued in sterling, either English sterling or the various colonial sterling units, the Spanish silver dollar, minted primarily in Mexico and Peru, was the de facto currency, due to its consistent weight and silver content. In the American colonies, its usage extended from New England down to the southern regions. However, Great Britain's mercantile system took center stage, pulling off quite the trickery. You see, they had this master plan to import precious metals into England while discouraging their export. A brilliant scheme indeed, but one that left the orderly development of the colonies in shambles. The colonies tried to establish their own silver coinage, hoping to break free from the clutches of the crown. But it only led to a good old-fashioned quarrel with the royal folks. Contention became the name of the game, marking the latter half of the 17th century and the first half of the 18th with a regal dispute. The precious metal system just wasn't cutting it for the colonies. Every last bit of silver and gold they managed to scrape together was promptly sucked up like a vacuum by those cunning bankers in London. It went on for seeming ages, draining the colonies of their shiny treasures. From that pivotal moment, a fierce contest commenced in America. A contest between capital and blood, between the spoils of the seas and the credit of the colonies, between the metallic yield of slavery and the fiduciary currency of a liberated people. In many ways, this contest has endured today in modern America, and shall continue unabated until the principles distilled by Aristotle from the republics of antiquity once again reassert their vitality within today's legislative chambers. So, What did those resourceful colonists do in the face of this metallic monopoly? The various colonial assemblies, with a glint in their eyes, discovered that paper money could be their saving grace, since silver and gold were as elusive as a fleeting dream. After all, who needs heavy coins weighing down your pockets when a crisp banknote can do the trick? It was also a golden ticket to financing their provinces, as they soon discovered, without resorting to excessive taxation. They realized that provincial governments could generate a steady stream of revenue in the form of interest income by taking on the role of quasi-banks. Thus, the colonial money magicians waved their wands and set the stage for a financial revolution. The first bills of this new monetary era were issued in 1690 in Massachusetts and were called Colony or Old Charter Bills. Later, they were dubbed Bills of Public Credit or simply Bills of Credit. These bills were justified on the basis of borrowing for specific public expenditures, in this case, a military expedition against Quebec. However, they were not called money, as none of the colonies had received the right to coin or print money, a minor detail, of course. Despite this, bills of credit were inscribed as legal tender and valid payments for all obligations, including taxes and bills of exchange. As the popularity of bills of credit grew, they became a sought-after medium of exchange, replacing less convenient bulky commodities or country pay and facilitating commerce and tax payments. This trend spread like wildfire throughout the colonies, with each adopting their own unique issuance and usage of bills of credit. The American colonies had discovered the secret sauce to financial success, a clever mix of paper money and minimal taxation. This formula allowed them to thrive and challenge the economic might of their mother country. One might say that the colonists had achieved the ultimate dream, having their cake and eating it too, all without the sufferance of excessive taxes.